reviewing a vintage magazine from the 50s. Hey everyone, it's vmcampos, and I've got a different bit of a video for you. I usually review comic books. This is a magazine. It has comics inside, actually, and other things as well. And I wanted to review it just to do something different. This is a classic magazine from September 1958. Before I was born, before you were born. So it's a portal into a bygone era of social mores, politics, culture, and the like. You'll be surprised to see how this magazine was back in the 50s, because this magazine's obviously existed a long time, and you probably have your preconceived notions of it, or you've perhaps browsed it before in your youth or at some point, and we'll see how different it was way back then, 63 years ago. Let's get started. Alright, so first of all, on the cover, we have a gentleman with their tie, their pocket. They've got a photo of their sweetheart, who's off to college. This is from September. It was 50 cents. I'll put it up on the screen what that translates to nowadays in 2021, but this was 50 cents, cover price off the newsstands. So starting off here, we're gonna see a lot of this classic, just vintage cartooning, this style of cartoons from back in the day, this realistic style, just great craftsmanship all around. We have the playbill here, which previews what's coming in the magazine. These various authors, they definitely feel from the 50s. That is a classic police officer there. And this man here with his suit and tie, this is just classic 50s. Now this magazine is pretty much completely intact. It even has the original subscription offers, $6 for 1 year, 12 issues, 3 years, $14. So begin my subscription and bill me later. I wonder if this address still works here. Take a screenshot of that and write them and tell them vmcampos sent you. We got the letters columns. Let's pick one out. There was a recent article about San Francisco, and someone says, "Your article in San Francisco was the greatest. It's my favorite town. I know it like the palm of my own hand, and you fellows really did right by it. It's the swingingest of swingingest cities." Now, I didn't quite know that swinging, that term was in the 50s. I associate it more with the 60s, but here we have in 1958, someone is using that term. And you can pause the video and read the other interesting letters that were published 63 years ago. Now, if we look over here, Stanley Blacker's piped blazer, purveyor of style for the well-to-do gentleman. And we're going to see a lot of this in the magazine, that there's just a lot of style and culture, and the magazine attempting to create the style. There's various style guides in here of what they basically say, this is the right way to do it, gents. How about this Paris belt with tallowed leather? I think that means they rub beef tallow on it, which is basically beef fat, because it improves with age. Here's the classic scam, the 5-record Glenn Miller album collection. You get them for free, then you get into the subscription. I did this in the 90s with Columbia House. What about you? Did you ever fall for those? Get 10 CDs for 1 penny? Well, I think it was $1, and then they went to 1 penny. And they were doing a version of this way back here in the 50s, but of course with record albums. Good old Glenn Miller. Kingsman Grooming Aids. Makes you feel like a king every day. So here's one of the more cheeky cartoons that this magazine was known for back in the day. Amalgamated Dynamics. I've got you another qualified electronics engineer. Classic beachwear styles of the day. A girl like this likes a look like this after 6. Definitely feels like James Bond, although this is before the first James Bond movie, but after the first James Bond novel. This is hilarious. For readers of Playboy, the most versatile suit is corduroy, his sportswear. And there's a kind of interesting single color ad here with this pink tone, which I wouldn't have associated with the style of the time. And again, this classic art just feels 50s. It feels so vintage, just expertly drawn. And you're gonna see that there's a lot of jazz. This magazine was always a big proponent of jazz, and you'll see many aspects of it throughout the magazine. So they review some films here. The Fly, yes, the 50s movie The Fly. is reviewed here, as well as some other ones that just aren't in the public's eye anymore. The Key, The Goddess. Again, pause it for yourself and check that out. And here we've got Usher's for outstanding merit, full-flavored yet mild. Usher's Green Striped Scotch Whiskey, 86.8 proof. 1,500 charge accounts, 1 monthly bill, 1 check for all charges, 1 credit card. Diners Club, so I believe these were one of the very first credit cards that ever existed. And then, of course, checking accounts and the like. So this is back in 1958, before you could charge it on your Apple Pay. All right, what else here? We have the Beer Blazer. You can really show off that you love to drink. Now here's what I want over here, transistor radios. Luxury costs so little when it's Regency, and so this is a radio, probably AM, quite affordable at $14.95. Young man who wants to make $10,000 a year before he's 30, and again, it's really about clothes make the man. Throughout this magazine, build your own hi-fi, play your records with your amazing stereo setup. Well, it wasn't stereo at the time; it was mono, but it was would call it a hi-fi. And then we've got these other sorts of advertisements right here. What else? Dorothy Donegan Trio. Oh, this is the classic. Now tell me in the comments, I've seen this devil character here on some band, I think from the 90s. I remember seeing this little devil creature here, and here we have it. It must be some public domain devil character, but we've got Frank Drone sings Dante's Inferno, so a performance using that same devil character. Tell me in the comments. It's on the tip of my tongue, but I don't remember exactly what album that was from. Just more ads about styles at the time. Sterling silver envelope sealers, so why lick your own envelopes if you can have your own sterling silver sealers for $5. Again, I'll put up here how much that costs nowadays. Get the classic merch with the logo. Keep your whole collection bound nicely in binders. More of these players. And here's the FFSS. We all know what that stands for. But back then, it was the greatest achievement in stereo records. Okay, I guess they did have stereo records. My bad. I thought stereo wasn't existing until later, because you hear about how the Beatles were all mono recordings. But I guess for the most high end, you did have stereophonic sound. Just more vintage, interesting ads. You can pause here, check out for yourself. Here we go, the Jazz All-Star album. So 2 LPs featuring jazz poll winners. Color. This is the first color ad we've seen so far, and it almost looks like exactly the same. Like, why they paid double for it, but it's slightly different. The hands are a little different, and it's different ties here. So yeah, this was a lot of money for this advertiser to put out these full color ads in this magazine, and beautiful color of the time, of course. Very subtly different ad. It really does feel like it's the same ad printed twice. I know when I was prepping for the video, that's what it looked like, and it almost looked like that for me again as I turned the page. What about you? Did it look like the same ad twice? Let me go back to black and white. Some perfumes. Here's the table of contents. 23 pages into the magazine, we finally have the table of contents, and we're going to see that we have serialized fiction. The joke is, yeah, I read it for the articles. There's always been the nudity aspect of the magazine and a literary aspect, and this goes all the way back here 63 years ago. That's what's in store in this issue. The House of Hate. So here is one of these fiction pieces. This is a Browning Norton piece. Full color frontispiece that gets you in the mood. The House of Hate. Goes on for a few issues. Now here's the first bit of nudity in the magazine, and it's a cartoon. It's these classic cheeky quips. I've got it. Let's all get dressed and play strip poker. So when it's life in a nudist colony, you gotta jazz it up somehow. Looks like this magazine has the original stains too. So then we go on to another fiction piece. The Peeping Tom Patrol. The girl's whole body stood transfixed in the beam of the copter's flashlight. This is some fiction by Michael Shara. Very interesting art right here. We have these very brutish officers and very abstract. The police car over here with these sorts of Starry Night, Vincent van Gogh type of flourishes to it, completely black and white. And then the young neckers on Lover's Lane getting caught. So fiction piece on that. Okay, this one's hilarious. The Well-Clad Undergrad. A sartorial survey sets entrance requirements for the collegiate wardrobe. So this is one of these style makers that really tells you, here's what you need to dress, here's how you need to dress, and this is a fascinating look at styles of the time. So you're gonna need 4 suits, and they explain and such, and then 3 or 4 pairs of slacks, sports jacket. You're gonna need these specific socks, sweaters, active sportswear, hats and caps. Again, this was the 50s, and then the photography definitely feels 50s, so all of the ladies clamoring for the gent right there as he begins his collegiate journey. This fascinating time capsule. Another cartoon, and it converts into a full-size bed when Arthur presses me in a certain place. Very modern furniture. Okay, here's not a fiction piece, but just an article about campus classics of the practical jest, Howls of Ivy. So it's just kind of a history of hazing in college. Then we have, okay, here's the big famous thing that this magazine was famous for. A fratter's date at a Playboy party becomes a college playmate, Saucy Sophomore. Playboy formal parties have become an institution at a number of institutions of higher learning across the country. This past year, over 25,000 students and faculty members of both genders attended such shimmering shindigs at Cornell, UCLA, Wisconsin, University of Florida, from coast to coast. In fact, and including the exclusive University Club in Chicago. At these posh fests, Playboy is the theme and keynote. The Playboy Rabbit is the mascot. Playboy covers and cartoons serve as decorations, and not infrequently, the highlight of the evening is the selection of a university or fraternity playmate. This is going to lead us into her pictorial spread. But first we have a couple of photos from the big shindigs that they claimed throughout the US. And yeah, at one point, this magazine was the premier magazine that everyone was reading and getting their culture from. And then next here we have the most famous aspect of the magazine. So this magazine's intact. It has the centerfold. It would be up on people's lockers. This is what sexy was in 1958. So beautiful blue frilly dress. The classic girl next door pose and smile and everything. And that's some interesting Photoshop from back in the day to make this palatable to be published, to go against obscenity laws. I can't really fill it all on camera properly. Let's give it the old college try. So starting at the bottom and then working up. And yeah, so this is what you could show at the time. Of course, expert photography. Do we have the photographer noted? I don't see the photographer's credit here, but maybe it was back on the table of contents. And out of focus background, come hither look with her clutch and her dress. And yeah, if you look carefully, yeah, that's some Photoshop going on there. Obviously, Photoshop didn't exist in 1958. It's only been around since 1990, but you know what I'm saying. So yeah, this is the most famous aspect of this magazine, still in the magazine, fully preserved all these years later, and then it ends with, "The party's over," as the songs say, and wonderfully wary Terry toddles off to dreamland. And so do millions of enjoyers of this magazine. We have the party jokes, so let's see if these still hold up. "Oh, I had a wonderful time," cooed the co-ed to her sorority sister. "Everybody said that Tommy and I were the cutest couple on the floor." "I thought you said you weren't going to the senior dance," puzzled her friend. "We didn't," said she, smiling. "Tommy took me to a pajama party." Yep, that still holds up. And then we have another full-color cartoon. There's the joke. The Womanization of America. So this isn't as misogynistic as you would think, but it is leaning towards that about... Well, let's see what this first starting sentence that caught my eye here. "As a man who has been verbally clubbed and clobbered for talking out vigorously against anything that seems to me wrong with our national life, I see no reason to pull any punches in what follows." Anyway, it's just an article about how the times are changing. And yeah, pause it, read it for yourself there, and see what that's all about. Now, there's a really, really, really long article about Playboy's Pigskin Preview, and they just talk about what the various college football teams are up to and their picks. And it's really long. It's spread out through various pages throughout the whole magazine. Interesting photography. It's the classic slow shutter speed to get all of these motion lines. It mostly works. You do see, I guess, that main guy there and all the action and everything. So, interesting photography. And then they talk about all the heroes, about who plays what. And this is the first person of color that we see in the whole magazine at this point. Ted Bates, Oregon State. Classic football helmets before the ones we got nowadays. This is the more high-tech one here with an actual guard. More of that slow frame photography. And here's their top 20 teams. Oklahoma, 10-0. Auburn, Michigan State, Miami, Clemson, Iowa, Notre Dame, blah, 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 blah. UCLA, that's the closest one to my burg. But that was their top 20 teams at the time. Sleepers Awake. Those girls, those lovely seaside girls. Fiction by Herbert Gold. Cool, interesting art over here. Eugene Carlin. And we have the Sublime Pitch. Cole cocks a skeptic's eye toward a new advertising technique. Who is this Cole they're talking about? That would be Jack Cole, famous cartoonist of the time. Creator of Plastic Man for DC Comics, and also cartoonist for the magazine. Tragically, he would die this year, very close to the time of the publication of this magazine. Again, this is September 1958. He would die around this time. So these are some of his final cartoons published here in the magazine. Very well drawn, very cute style. I don't fully get the joke of this. I don't fully get the joke of this piece, but it goes on to say, before we sanction national exposure of our gray matter to electronic innuendo, observes cautious cartoonist Jack Cole, let us consider the possible consequences of indiscriminate subliminal advertising in TV and the cinema. Let's consider, too, how some might misuse this latest phenomenon in hidden persuasion to achieve mischievous and Machiavellian ends. A lot of purple prose in this magazine, as was par for the course at the time. But basically it's saying TV has really invaded the home by this time, and this newfangled subliminal messaging has started to permeate. So here we have, oh, look at that, it's so subliminal, she's shaving, but no, the man should be shaving, haha. This one over here, I have no idea what's going on with this one. Here's two women entering the manager's office with husband in tow and another satisfied customer, I guess. What's interesting about this piece also is the stark black backgrounds compared to all of the white pages we've seen before. And over here we have, okay, this one's more obvious, drunken kids, because, yeah, subliminally advertising beer to the kiddies. And over here, I guess, the juvenilization of the family with cereal commercials, eating in bed. Over here, what, are we turning into a nation of tea drinkers? I'm sure that's someone famous here. I don't know, someone famous British from 1958. And don't let us become a nation of tea drinkers. We're all about beer. What else? So we've got how Yosemite is very much an aphrodisiac, I suppose. This one's hilarious. That dog food commercial is going to make us all love dog food more than our own dogs. And then lastly, okay, so this needs a lot of setup. Like, what is even going on here? So we have someone disrobing for a Mountie or a British soldier or something, and everyone's writing okay in their notepads. What's going on? So you have to read it over here backwards to get the joke. City Censor Board. So these are the censors, and it's so subliminally good that it's making even the censors tricked and approving this filth. So yeah, Jack Cole cartoons of the era. Rest in peace. So we have a whole article on hip flasks to conceal your alcohol during the big game. Okay, here's another article. The Bosom. Introducing June Wilkinson, a buxom British beauty with simply sensational statistics. And then the first opening salvo of the article. Hollywood, which has given us the body and the back, has also given us, and I think that's an allusion to famous actors at the time, that they were nicknamed the body and the back. Tell me in the comments if you know who they are. Hollywood, which has given us the body and the back, has also given us plenty of bosoms, starting with Lana Turner's bee-sweatered charms, continuing through the delightful double features of Marilyn Monroe. Fun fact, if you didn't know, she was the very first model in the first magazine. And reaching an appetizing apogee in the mighty measurements of Mansfield. But all these were lowercase bosoms. The first bosom worthy of a capital B has only recently reached Tinseltown. She's an import, not from Sweden or Italy, climes seemingly most conducive to such classic cultivations. It, or they, are from staid old England and are the perky properties of pretty young Londoner named June Wilkinson. 43, 22, 36. Damn. Anyway, then we have a piece on her. Classic photography of the time. Showing just enough, but not enough. And styles of the time. Kind of interesting that there's just this whole blank area over here with nothing. They could have... I'm sure they shot a lot of photos, and there's just a blankness over here. And then getting interviewed, and, oh, did you catch me while I'm getting ready for bed? Can't do a British accent. And then we've got these other pictures as well. June lends enchantment to a sport shirt. Compared with the mighty measurements of Miss Wilkinson, Hollywood's most full-blown beauties must go to the foot of the class. And again, yep, this has got the original stains, I guess. Moving on. So, continuation of the article, we have the Well-Clad Undergrad, and here we have styles for every occasion, as you are wont to do to be a man of the world of the time. Another cartoon, oh, don't mind him, he's just my roommate's new boyfriend. The Princess and the Monster, ribald classic. So this takes classic fiction and modernizes it with a little bit more of a cheeky twist. Pause it and read that for yourself. And then the hilarious conclusion. Then we got Jules Pfeiffer, classic cartoonist. Pause it and read the hilarity there if you want. Okay, this is kind of funny. I also kind of like the style of all of them. They have the same sort of facial style. Is John Dempsey. Then I buried his head in the sports page. He would have liked that. Classic. And we have Champale. I didn't know this stuff was around from this long. I kind of only know it from an episode or two of The Simpsons. But yeah, Champale. The malt liquor you serve like champagne. How to throw a jolly bally party. So check that out yourself. They still sell this stuff, I think. Should try it one day. Oh, advertising of the time. Encase her divine legs in tauntingly imported silk brocade slacks in turquoise. Order by waist size. Accessories for the complete drinker. Another cartoon. I wonder whose wife that was. This is classic aftermath of some sort of encounter. Can't read the name too well. Leo Gardner, perhaps? Holds 200 records. Another cartoon. This one's a little bit darker, I think. I think it's only fair to tell you that I was an accessory before the fact. Females by Cole, number 51. Holier than thou. Classic cartoony figure drawings of the 50s. Again, another Jack Cole. He would pass on at around this time, so some of his final cartoons. Continuing the Pigskin Preview, yeah, check that out there. Get your own monogram stuff. This one's pretty dumb. Hold it. So at a test screening, not a test screening, but one of the daily screenings of a movie, and they say, oh, wait a minute, we're throwing the director's chair in this Western movie, so haha. Expertly drawn, but the joke falls flat. Here we have get your own bloodshot red vest to really show off. There's lots of ads over here. The Come To Me cap. Gay fad with built-in wink for gals and guys. So if you lift the brim, you've got a wink. If you lower it, you've got the open eye. So you were sending a message there. Here's some advertisements for no-dos with a subliminal message. What do you see? Do you see a happy gentleman or something else? Pervert. For tall men only. Shirts with your exact long length. Do-it-yourself plastic laminating. Various ads for clothing. Again, we saw a lot of clothing ads. We saw alcohol ads. Just a lot of the gentleman fashion of the time. Now, this is 5 years into the publication of the magazine. It started in 1953. This is 1958. So by this time, it had become a cultural force, a taste maker. Coming to the end, here's again Intact Magazine, $6 a year. Here we have the list of advertisements. Get the subscription. Here's what's coming up next. Double Playmate, 2 cuties for the price of 1. Jazz Poll, your ballot to pick the 1959 All-Stars. Prose of Paris, Love for Sale in the City of Light. Plus Fine Fiction, by a trio of Playboy perennials, Charles Beaumont, Ken Purdy, and Ray Russell. One final ad for belts. The new Hickok Riviera accessories. Very elegant. And we close on the back page with the classic, "What sort of man reads Playboy?" Now, this is to entice advertisers to advertise in the magazine, not a justification of why it's okay for you to read Playboy after all I've heard about it. And it just goes on to some stats about this is wealthy people and they have money to spend and so forth. So that's who reads Playboy, who you should be advertising to. Classic jet set ad here with a DC-7B Continental. For all you airplane heads out there, it'd be cool to look up that registration number. I wonder if this address still exists here. 730 Fifth Avenue, New York, New York. Or this Chicago. And there we go, Playboy Volume 5, Number 9, the September 1958 issue. Truly a blast from the past. An American institution that at one point was a cultural juggernaut across the world. Things have changed, of course, but I think the brand is still pretty well known. The bunny rabbit. And I thought it would be interesting to show off this artifact from over 60 years ago to see how culture has changed. What did you think about this romp through a vintage magazine? I was born in 1978 and this was published 20 years before I was born. What about you? How much older than you is this magazine? Or if you are one of the old-timers that was around for this time, tell me all about it in the comments. Tell me how it was like to get this off the newsstand back in the day. I'd love to hear that. If you like this video, don't forget to like, comment, share, subscribe, ring the bell, battle the Minotaur, do all that good stuff. If you really like my videos, consider pressing the join button here on YouTube or heading on over to the Patreon and contributing $1. That keeps the channel funded and it keeps it going. I would really appreciate it. Us content creators really love it when you enjoy our stuff and when you pledge a few bucks. If you can't quite join at the moment, no worries. Simply like, comment, share, subscribe, ring the bell, battle the Minotaur, help me go viral. I would really appreciate it. This has been vmcampos and I'll see you in the next video.